All right, you guys. So a new story just recently came out in the Icelandic gender utopia. At any rate, these are all the stories that people out there, especially big media people, do not want you to know. Much like the men's rights movement party that ran recently, the whole conflict with equal pay regulations and standards, etc., etc. Anyways, this latest story is about a union of college students. So the way this is going to sound very different from those of you who are used to the American systems. So in the education structure in Iceland is kind of you go through first through 10th grade in elementary, then you go to a special type of college which used to be 4 years and now has been reduced to 3 years, and then you go to university wherein you get your bachelor's, your master's, etc., etc. So this little college, this intermediate stage there, has a student union around it, and there was a guy who was the head of that student union who actually openly spoke out against the student union's ambition to make gender studies a mandatory topic. So actually lobbied to get that made a mandatory topic in these schools. And being freedom oriented as he is, and I know this guy a little bit personally, vaguely, but yeah, being freedom oriented as he is, he actually spoke out against it as this would be akin to teaching theology or religious studies or anything. Just making what is essentially a political agenda more so than an actual empirical uh, or rational study topic. Making that mandatory, and of course all hell broke loose, and then the story got a little trickier. So not too long after this, he was dethroned, if you will. He was actually let go as the chairman of that board of that students' union. Now, as far as what I've heard to be the official story, he had, because of a supposed backlash of this media article that he got published actually in the mainstream, where he spoke out about this, as supposedly a backlash wherein he had summoned the board for an emergency meeting, which I think is supposed to be against their rules of conduct, and based of that, some board members didn't like the way he tried to assemble that emergency meeting, and that was the reason for why he got put off as the head of the board. And if that doesn't sound fishy, then I don't know what does. You know what? Maybe it is against the rules and all that. But given the weight of what he was pushing, a lot of people aren't buying that justification, including one political leader. She came out and basically came out in defense of free speech on this topic, and said that she was happy that he articulated his opinion and stance and belief and whatnot, and she also actually spoke out against feminism. She actually proclaimed that feminism has gone way too far, and that there's actually not much that we as women, she said, have to complain about in this country, which of course is not a popular stance by any means. And this woman is spearheading a party she's often labeled far right, but again, this goes back to my point that you can be socially conservative and still be on the left, because her entire party is a pragmatic left wing party. I say pragmatic because they negotiate to the center. They can negotiate with people with parties who are considerably on the right. So they're very pragmatic. They're just they want to. They're basically an old school left thinking body. So it's almost as if they just want to toss away postmodernism and go back to the old school social democracy, where it was again the class struggle rather than divvying it up into tiny identitarian groups and whatnot. So it's that's where her party is, and she's pulling in a lot of these union votes, a lot of the workers, a lot of people who are disabled, sickly, and on any kind of government subsidies because of disease or the lack of capacity to participate in the workforce and whatnot. So she's actually getting a lot of those, and she's getting a lot of lower income families where they're actually still coherent families, where the parents are married and such. Because quite frankly, the mainstream left's been losing that. They've been very good at catering to single parents, but not too much to people who are still married together and struggling, right? So yeah, so this is an interesting progression, and I felt like I wanted to just very quickly share this with you guys. And I actually, looking at the time code, I didn't even mean to babble on for this long, so I'm just gonna cut it right here. Just figured I'd share the story real quick, and as soon as we get any updates, if this becomes a shitstorm, I'll let you know. And yeah, it'd be a damn shame if somebody didn't take this ball and run with it, because to be fair, this guy had a point. Yeah, if you make feminism or gender studies a mandatory topic in these schools, it's yeah, it is a step towards indoctrination. It's pretty much akin to, and I'm gonna again side with it. It's akin to picking one political ideology over another, or one religious ideology over another, and it's just against everything that we have stood for as principled Westerners over the last 300 years or so, since the Enlightenment. So yeah, it's an interesting story, interesting topic, and probably more to come, especially if they keep pushing this in the public discourse. At any rate, that's it for now. Biking out.